Correction, it's cisgender, not biological. So let's just be able to say cisgender women. We should normalize cisgender. That's easy
I
enough
agree.
for us to do.
I will only say that when I say that, I'm saying it's the way they use that term. I don't use that term, but they say that's what they want, and then it's not good enough in the end.
Yeah.
And I do know it's a minority, and all I have to say, all I am saying is that if and when there is a trans athlete, can we stand with them? And can we see and tie our own liberation together and our own defense against this bigotry together? And me as a feminist, me as a cisgender woman, I believe that my own liberation, my fight against that misogyny that John's talking about, if someone were to call me a man, say, I'm not a man, but also I stand with trans people, I stand with trans athletes. And I hope that we will see that eventually one day, even for those 7 people. I do think it matters.
All right, here we go. That was too early that time. Welcome to the TransPositions, everybody. I'm Bree. This is Ember on this side of me, not that side.
Hello, hello.
We got Dr. Ben downstairs. Steph.
Ooh, I get the downstairs.
Downstairs.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Hold us up with your mighty muscles.
This is testosterone, everybody.
Oh, that's what it does for you.
Ben is officially carrying the show.
But hold on. The problem is that according to, I mean, we'll get into some of these issues later, but according to a lot of people in the media, because of my chromosomes, I should compete in the women's division, even though I'm holding people up with my testosterone.
Hell yeah. Have you ever actually checked your chromosomes? Because I know most people have not.
Most people don't, because it's an expensive test that will do nothing for you,
right?
Unless you have a medical condition that requires you to find out what they are.
For real, yeah. In checking for genetic conditions or whatever, when something comes up in your medical charts, a little bit different than just doing it just to find out because you're afraid you're going to be seen as a
Yeah, and most people who are intersex don't know, and only find out in fertility testing. So,
yeah, right. And that's a lot of what you have to go on is fertility. That's generally like a flag of something like that on either side, and that's what they when you send off for genetic testing, and it is expensive. And
it's that and puberty, like delayed puberty will be the other one.
And I can tell you right now that your insurance company probably requires all sorts of other prereqs before anything like that happens too.
Oh.
So
you're getting if you're getting the testing, you're getting a full genetics consult. So you're getting another specialist to weigh in.
Yay.
And so not really worth it for most people.
It's a kind of an over the top position to take. Well, while we're waiting for Steph and Carly, Steph having some I think weather related technical difficulties, so she'll be here if she can, and then Carly said she'd be here at her usual time, which is usually about a quarter after or so. So that's just great. We got a hopping live chat tonight. Hello, everybody. Good to see ya. Got Titan out there without a wrench. How did that happen? Isn't that weird? Look at that. You ever seen Titan Uranus and Gray like that? Do you? I know some people like to have odd channels they don't have a wrench on, but I feel like since Titan built our server, I mean, basically he was the one holding it up like Atlas when we were building our server for the Discord. And PC's out here shilling everybody's links. Let me know if you want a wrench Titan. I'll definitely give you one. I know some people like to have a place where they don't have one, where they're like, I just want to sit back and watch the show. So you let me know. I know you got your own thoughts on things. But Ember, how's your week been?
Ups and downs. Lots going on. But for various reasons, I wound up going about my day with no makeup today, and it was actually okay.
I feel that. I really do. I'll tell you what happened to me today. Okay, I was waiting. So my work has this cafeteria diner place built onto it, so you can walk over there and buy lunch if you feel like it. So I walked over there, and it was in the hallway between there and my work is really steamy, and my eyelash came loose, right? And then I went to adjust my glasses and pulled this eyelash off, and then it fell completely off. So then I had to make the decision of whether or not I wanted to pull this one off, and just or to try to put this one back on. So I ended up pulling that one off. So I didn't go without makeup. I went without lashes. But where'd you have to go?
Oh, it was just at work today, going to different customer stops.
Driving your routes and stuff, yeah.
And then I had to go to a couple stores after, and it just, yeah. On the plus side, the laser has been effective enough that my shadow is minimal. Like, you can see it, but if you don't look closely, you can kind of almost miss it. And my uniform, I've got the women's cut outfit. I actually have a figure now, so glancing at me, it's not that big a deal. But a few people that got face to face with me, I got a couple of odd looks, but nobody made a big deal out of it, which was the thing that concerned me most. Is people going, what kind of freak is this with a beard and boobs and whatnot?
My green screen is messed up because my cat is currently sitting in between the two parts of my green screen.
Yeah, we have Kitty tonight already. Carly's not here yet, but we already got a Kitty in here.
We already got Kitty, but she's not on the screen. She's just playing in the background.
We are
causing trouble.
We are feline friendly in this.
She's like, I want the attention.
Space. Oh. Helms has arrived.
Avast
has arrived.
Wouldn't you know it? I mean, Avast, you lubbers.
I heard myself echo there.
Fuck. I heard myself echo there first. Did you? Am I? Yeah. Did you? Hold on.
No problem.
Echo attack.
Let me make sure I'm not feeding you back here. Oh. God. Let's see. We'll click that off and click this off. There we go. Any better there?
Check. Check.
Oh, I've got my actual speaker going. No wonder you heard yourself echo.
That would be it.
That should be better. Yeah, it would be it. That would be the thing.
Yeah.
So after today's transatlantic calling show, I want to keep it as lighthearted as possible because boy, oh boy, we have a call that just got you in the feels.
Yeah, I was listening, and also I've got some liquid twerk on board for tonight, so but there might be room for some more in a minute.
You and me, brother. Here we go. We're gonna go.
Yeah, I'll do some more liquid twerk for Steph. Like we can do a group thing. I don't.
While you're drinking that, we gotta look at this story. This is our opening story tonight. Let me show you guys because this is hilarious.
Story time.
I know it's hilarious. It's so bizarre to see it from the freaking Catholic Church. It's strange to see Pope Francis.
Well, Fuck the motherfucker! Fuck the motherfucker!
Listen, Pope Francis denounces anti-LGBTQ plus discrimination in historic meeting with Ugandan activists. And Uganda is one of them places where we wouldn't be alive.
They kill you.
Yeah, none of us would survive Uganda. At least not if we were out of the closet. I mean, maybe we could make our best effort to pass, because we'd probably have to all wear burqas except for Ben anyway. So, depending on what part of Uganda you're in, they're pretty Islamic, aren't they? I know they got a lot of Christian.
Yeah, it's
no. Uganda's a Christian.
Yeah.
Uganda is predominantly Christian nation.
Yeah, Nigeria is
And,
too.
yeah, they're
The whole like Ivory, I guess the old Ivory Coast. I know Ivory Coast is a country
Well-
now, but it used to be a lot bigger. All that
Cote
Yeah.
d'Ivoire.
Cote
S'il vous
d'Ivoire.
plaît.
So it's like in a video posted on Twitter, I'm not calling it that. Claire,
Bitter.
yeah, and maybe I should have said that instead of it's not saying her name, because I don't want to butcher her name. Claire Bayarugaba can be seen shaking hands and kissing the Pope on both cheeks, making the first time the head of the Catholic Church has met with an LGBTQ plus activist from Uganda. Bayarugaba said.
Yeah.
Said, I'm let me read this one more paragraph here. Said the pontiff had reiterated that discrimination is a sin and violence against the LGBTQ communities is unacceptable. So, I mean, condemning violence is a start. I don't know why y'all think the I mean the tradcasts are gonna they're gonna be having steam coming out of their ears over this, like people like Matt Walsh.
Of course they will.
You know.
Well, yeah, the Tradcast will, the Orthodox will. They just hate people. I mean, they just don't, anything that isn't. Like
No,
straight down the road.
they like some people. They like white men, straight white men.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
I don't.
Well.
Sounds kind of gay to me. That's all I'm saying.
They like straight white men.
Yeah, and of
like
course,
white men. I don't
there's
know.
the other thing about the little, the hanky-panky going on and that kind of thing. That's a little bit disturbing, but.
And they don't want.
And
control.
then there's and then there's Idi Amin, then there's that. There's that little thing.
Okay, the activist who is the Equality and Non-Discrimination Program Officer for Civil Liberties Group Chapter 4 Uganda referred to the East African nation's Anti-Homosexuality Act. Anti-Homosexuality Act. That's
Yeah, that's a relatively new law. This came up on Global Atheists the last time I was on. They were covering like the differences in the laws in the African nations. How in Uganda's law specifically was the main topic, but there's a few countries that have very severe penalties for being aggravated gay, but they never enforce them. So effectively, LGBT people are just free in those societies. They're
now
technically illegal, but they never get any trouble. But then there's other countries like Chad and Nigeria, where even though it's not illegal to be an LGBTQ plus person, they just fucking kill you and no one cares.
Yeah. Is this the guy?
I'm sorry, that's too many letters. I'm gonna have to go with alphabet people.
So don't even freaking go there.
No, I'm not gonna go.
Bring some more tea into this.
Is this the guy that was funded by Chick-fil-A though? This campaign was funded by Chick-fil-A.
Oh.
The one he's the one that all the Republican senators went over to campaign for.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I don't know about Chick-fil-A one way or the other.
Well, Chick-fil-A supported some African, I think it was Uganda. So that's why I'm saying that. I better fact check myself. Jamie, can we fact check that?
Fact check in real time. Certain former presidents are opposed to that kind of thing.
Well, I'm all for it because I think it's the way to be. All right.
Boy, we're late. Or are we live? I don't know. Maybe we're live.
We're live.
We might be live.
Oh my God! Sorry, people.
We're 18 minutes live. No, you're good.
Well,
Yeah.
it's been a day. It's been a day. I've been trying to update OBS, and it hasn't been working out for me.
Yeah, here's what I'm talking about. Let me bring this up real quick. Yeah, we're definitely live, Steph. We were live when you popped in.
Oh, really? That's great. It's a good thing I wasn't naked.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, the unholy relationship between Uganda's anti-LGBTQ law and U.S. evangelism. This is that same law. Same dude. There he is.
Yep.
That's our guy. That's
bunch of holy rollers banging on the Bible all the time, and it's just
Yeah, the motive is somewhat questionable.
Yeah.
Because, like, here in the U.S., it's all culture war bullshit, right? Like, they go Bible, 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 but the actual motive is to make a wedge issue and distract people from what the Republicans are actually doing and all these various things. They don't actually give a fuck about us. We're just a convenient football.
It'd be really fun if the Republicans would actually make a wedgie issue out of things instead of.
Well,
sorry.
Yeah, I mean, Republicans are kind of making a wedge issue out of just trans people existing. I mean, that's their wedge issue.
Yeah.
Right now.
They're trying. They're failing more often than not, but they don't have anything else to distract people from, all the crazy shit that they're trying to pull off, like, Project 2025 or literally anything Trump has ever done.
May I just say at this moment that Ember, you're looking really unbelievably coordinated right now. That's like.
Isn't
what the
that
hell?
outfit?
What an outfit! The outfit and the flag and that's holy crap.
Oh yeah. I matched
that
today.
She wore all her flair for us. I feel like I should put some flair on. I have like moth antennas.
I mean, if I'm not gonna wear makeup, I should at least put in some effort on my outfit,
I'm gonna put on my tennis hat.
Well, as you can see, I've devoted extensive amounts of time to my appearances. I am just gonna have to go. I'm just gonna have to go with the. I don't know.
Did you guys see this? That Aaron Reed fact checked. JD Vance.
Yeah, I checked my inbox like right before we got up in the green room.
Yeah. That's better. Not better. Turn off.
No, that's
Yeah. What is this with the transing the kids? I mean, for God's sake.
Transing is a weird concept in and of itself.
I know. I'm like, it's so fucking wild to me for so many reasons. But the number one thing that gets to me personally is that they're making all these accusations that there's government agents running around like zapping kids with a ray gun to gender switch them, and then we're all over here like bending over backwards just to get our HRT and shit. Like where are these people for the people? Give us the ray gun. Come on now.
I really don't know. I mean, I'm of a one of a certain age, but I certainly the
You're breaking up
folks
a little bit.
In my age cohort to be ourselves at all, and it's even today with a good deal more understanding than there was prevalent in the 50s and 60s. It's not something somebody just goes, "Hey, I think I'll be trans today." It's
Right.
like it's the most foolish thing ever. Like, no, it's not a thing.
I'll tell you what, before we move on, I just want to give a quick shout out to Aaron in the morning. Freaking Aaron rocks. She just dropped
Absolutely.
this. She's on top of debunking this stuff. She's amazing. I can't praise her work enough and compliment it. But we like to look at a piece of her work every now and then. But this is about J.D. Vance making some wild claims about Tim Walz. Right. So Tim Walz is all for transing the kids. In an interview with ABC News on Sunday, J.D. Vance claimed that Minnesota Governor and Harris VP running mate Tim Walz signed a bill allowing the state to kidnap a transgender child if their parents did not approve of their transition. However, the bill Vance referenced actually provides refuge for transgender youth and their parents fleeing unsafe states where their care is criminalized. The legislation contains no provisions allowing the state to kidnap children when their parents do not support their gender transition. These claims arise from an intentional misinterpretation of a provision that specifically applies to custody disputes between parents in different states. So, I imagine the argument here is that they are worried that parents in Minnesota who have a trans kid with somebody who lives in a different state, like say, South Dakota, someplace close by like that, that they would grant them custody of the child in Minnesota and disallow custody of the out-of-state parent because they didn't affirm the child's transition. That's what I'm understanding of this whole thing.
Yeah, California has a similar law. It has two facets. In a custody dispute that involves a transgender child, if one parent affirms and the other does not, then that gets factored in. It's not the only factor. It's not even the most important factor, but it does get factored into the court's decision. The other is when non-affirming parent lives in another state like Texas. Because under Texas law, the situation is reversed. The non-affirming parent gets custody by default, and Texas gets to extradite the child to Texas to live with the non-affirming parent. So the state laws come into conflict. California's law says Texas's law can stay in Texas. Here in California, if you're here in California, your child is protected and cannot be taken to another state specifically for the purpose of not allowing them to transition. And a lot of people have made hay over that one. Minnesota has a similar law. This particular law, it does both things. It gives that weight to the decision in a custody dispute to what's best for the child, which includes acknowledgement of their gender identity, but it also protects a child from being taken away to another state because of their gender identity. The only time the state itself enters the picture is if during that process, in a disputed custody, if the court finds that neither parent is competent to be the sole caretaker for the child, then the state can step in. But that doesn't directly have anything to do with the child's gender identity. That's just if both parents suck at their jobs, then the state takes custody. Just like what would happen if a CPS investigation, a child shows up to school with bruises, and so the state investigates, and they find that both parents are beating the child. The state will take the child. That's what they do.
Y'all want to listen to this real quick? I think it's just like a couple seconds.
Oh,
here.
it's delightful, and it.
I heard Donald Trump.
What's that? Make it full
It
screen.
it is relatively short.
Yeah. Okay, closed. Here we go.
Give this speech in Montana he just gave, and he said that Tim Walz has signed a letter letting the state kidnap children to change their gender, that allowing pedophiles to claim, I mean, to be exempt from crimes. I mean, this is not true. It's not remotely true.
Well, what President Trump said, and I haven't watched the whole rally.
What he said was not true.
What President Trump said, John, is that Tim Walz has supported taking children from their parents if the parents don't consent to gender reassignment. That is crazy. And by the way, Tim Walz gets on his high horse about mind your own damn business. One way of minding your own damn business, John, is to not try to take my children away from me if I have different moral views than you.
The state to kidnap children to change their sexual identity.
What I just explained to you, I would describe as kidnapping, John. He has absolutely done this stuff. It's not crazy, John. Come on.
It's not.
You should not be able to take people's.
For the record, it's absolutely crazy, right? I mean,
it's just. I mean, that's the fascist way, right? When you're presented with the real facts, you just double down on your lie, call everyone who disagrees crazy, and it's just, the sky is made of green cheese. What's wrong with you, Ember? That's fucking crazy. No, you're crazy. Like, what the hell? Upside down world up in here.
Upside down. Yep. What else we got on the floor here today? Let me see. Good old J.D. Vance. The claim that HF 146, also known as the Trans Refuge Law, would allow the state to kidnap children stems from a deliberately misleading interpretation of the bill. Terry Schilling, president of the American Principles Project and director of millions of dollars in anti-transgender ads targeting Democrats, pointed to a section of the bill stating that the state can take jurisdiction if a child is present in the state and has been unable to obtain a gender-affirming health care. Deliberate misinterpretation of this clause is the primary source of the famous claim about the Minnesota law. As you can see, Schilling's claim in context here. Mm-hmm.
Oh my God!
And this was a tweet about it. He tweeted it, and it's this guy. It's sad that why do they get to keep the flag of our country? Why does that get to be their chud symbol?
Because he had bloody socks one year, and the Boston Red Sox won the World Series. That's why. But he also had a company that's ripped off the state of Rhode Island the state of Rhode Island and Providence Plantations for a shit ton of money. But give him a pass.
Yeah.
Here's the thing that I didn't realize I was muted. I was trying to point out that this is really awful lot like the fugitive slave laws, 1850s.
It really is. That's what it does remind me of. Like we're gonna be like in a refuge state.
Well, and there's overlap there too, because women who are going for reproductive health. Maine actually, Tennessee and Kentucky decided that they were going to sue Maine. It's like, hey, well, we took you all on back in the day too. We'll just the ghost of Joshua Lawrence Chamberlain will be out on the field to meet you at some point in time. But they were going to sue the state of Maine for saying, no, the law in Maine is, if a physician performs a procedure that is medically necessary, obviously, and these procedures are medically necessary, they can't be extradited. They can't be prosecuted by any other state law. And the thing that's rather scary is they'll do it, and they'll do it at a federal level. That was what the Fugitive Slave Act was all about at a federal level, and that's scary.
Well,
theory.
you're not that far off because, as it turns out, this law is actually a response to another law from J.D. Vance's side of the playing field,
Right.
where the state will kidnap your child if you've allowed them any kind of gender care. I believe it's Florida was the model for this
Florida, yeah.
section. And,
That was the first
yeah,
spot.
it straight up says that the state will take emergency custody of your child if they've been subjected to how do they phrase it? Basically, to the effect of gender affirming care.
If they've been subjected to pedophilia, you mean, Ember?
They've been groomed.
That's the grooming narrative for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey guys,
and complaining about the state kidnapping your children when the Florida version, literally, the state will kidnap your children because you allowed them to have medical care.
Guys,
every accusation from the right is a confession. Every single one.
Guys,
you just don't know where they all come from yet.
Right? Yeah, it's all these deeply seated opinions on things. I just wanted to tell you guys to brace yourself. Yeah, because something's going to pop up on the screen in a second.
I'm wondering because this, we're talking about various states doing various things, and they're oh my god.
Yeah. That's why I said brace yourselves. Brace yourselves. Scroll away. Scroll away.
I was just gonna.
How about this queen right here?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
No, I'm not afraid of Robert Galbraith's face because he's also had gender affirming care.
Right.
Most people have. Most people have had it in one way or another.
Yes, it benefits us all. So trying to outlaw or trying to say this group can't get this type of gender affirming care, but everybody else. Yeah.
Let's ban low T clinics. Ban them for the cis men. Like, sorry.
Oh yeah.
You
get rid of the
your testosterone supplementation. Like, they're gonna have a fit. They're gonna have an absolute fit. I can't tell you the amount of people who don't even have testosterone issues that will come to the office and be like, I'm tired. I must have low testosterone. Give me testosterone. And people will do it. People will give them testosterone because they're tired. And even though we're like, hey, maybe you just didn't sleep last night. Have you tried sleeping? And they're like, no, it's got to be the testosterone. And then they get it. Like, there's so much gender affirming care out there that is expected. And we don't count in that. Like, our care doesn't matter. But the testosterone, if we start coming for their testosterone,
I'm kind of longing for
get some people on our side.
I'm kind of longing for the days when America was great, and the supplement was iron poor blood was Geritol. I mean, what the hell?
Now, remember the colloidal silver that was a big thing? Big grift for a long time on all the religious channels. Like every big, what do they call mega church pastor was hawking colloidal silver.
Yeah. But let's just say at least the mega churches didn't go for tanning your balls.
Oh yeah.
There's that.
Perennial sunning.
That's a really great topic. It's like, does ultraviolet light in your crotch boost your testosterone level? Ben.
Probably not. I'd have to read the studies, but that sounds like a great way to give yourself a higher cancer risk. And I wouldn't do it.
Is testicular cancer particularly painful?
No, it's usually not painful, which is kind of why people get suspicious of it. But it's like,
amputation?
I mean, there's also the very anti-sunscreen crew, so it might be overlapping communities of people that are using ultraviolet light on their testes, that are also saying don't use sunscreen because it will give you cancer. And I've met many people that believe that. So,
You know, the same dudes who are out there tanning their sacks are the ones that are making claims that this woman is a man, but that's neither here nor there because they're all getting sued. Well, at least Rowling and Musk are, right?
Yeah, well,
I think maybe.
I hope so.
well, no, actually, I think old Dickie Dawkins, this guy stuck his little weenie in there too. He hasn't had much to say after he.
I got that covered later on in the show. We're gonna get their stuff. Absolutely. Got some Dawkins nonsense for you. Let's see though.
I wonder where Lawrence Krauss falls in this whole thing. look at these people. You know, like look at the collapse of the new atheists. You know, the great apostles of atheism. How low they've fallen. I mean, my God. It don't have any heroes, kids. Just don't, because it's not worthwhile. Somebody's going to disappoint you somewhere along the line.
I hear you, skeptic spin. I don't think this is a good platform to come at Reagan. It was funny. I mean, yeah, it was a funny breakdancing routine. I don't know. It's become quite the meme, but got the Scooby-Doo.
No one is claiming she's the man.
You know, no one's trying to clock Ray Gun right now. They've tried to clock plenty of other Olympians though, but which we've covered here ad nauseum. Katie Ledecky is one that always stands out. Katie Ledecky is amazing, but definitely not trans.
You know, all right. If it wasn't trans, it was, you know, like people going after Megan Rapinoe. You know, people going after anything to do with it. Oh, look at all the lesbos out on the field. That's terrible. Get into it. And the blue hair. Yeah, it's just. Which is why I think the whole weird meme is really terrific, because it's like, no, it's actually kind of weird to take your pet to a gravel pit, kill it, and this was the other thing, as you mentioned South Dakota. It's like Christy Nome. Like Corey Lewandowski is now going to work for the Trump campaign after he had a very torrid and very public affair with you know, he was kind of screwing the poocher. It's like, what? I mean, huh? So yeah, weird. That's a lot more weird than people actually playing sports. I mean, shit.
Oh, it's got to be weird. Well, this is the time of the show where Ember usually says good night because she works an early shift.
Stupidly early. It's my least favorite thing about my job.
On the East Coast.
Such a night person.
So that's even earlier to me. Sometimes I'm still up playing around at the time that you get up for work. I'm sorry,
my roommates too.
Still, you probably find me in Gather with Steph and Sumami talking some kind of nonsense at that time in the morning.
Screaming at each other mostly. Right?
Yeah, or screaming at each other.
Everybody needs a hobby. But also join Gather, and you also can scream at everyone in the middle of the night.
If you need to scream in the middle of the night, Gather's the place for you. I don't know if that's the way if Jay wants us to advertise it that way.
No, it's just sort of a bunch of weirdos hanging out, talking weird shit about weird things.
It's a gigantic freaking ranch he's got there. So, we could definitely have a screaming room and other people doing the go-kart thing and other people playing pinochle and whatever.
That's kind of fun.
Yeah.
That's true. I don't scream. That's probably an accurate assessment. Oh, it's doing the thing. Hold on. Gotta fix this. Because it wants to flip back to your all's audio is gonna go bad.
All right.
There it is. Yeah. All right. Your audio goes bad. Nobody else's does.
All right.
But that's all right. Yeah, we do get into some heated conversations. There's a lot to discuss. There's a lot going on in the world that's impacts a lot of people and scaring a lot of people. And I'm scared sometimes. It's okay to be scared sometimes. Everything that's going on right now.
It's terrifying. It's terrifying. But I think it's really cool that that joy and humor has made its way, at least from one side of the aisle, into the conversation. And I think that's a really positive. I think it's a really positive thing for our politics, because you know what? Life's awful short. Don't need to be at each other's throats the entire time. And the people that go after folks like us for no goddamn reason other than the fact that they can't seem to wrap their minds around this stuff, and clutch at their crotches day after day, getting worried about all this stuff and getting worried about any of the people in the LGBTQ arena. They need to lighten up. Lighten up, Francis.
A lot of people need to
touch my stuff. I'll kill you. What's weird is that what was satire in the 80s, early 90s is actually a political platform today.
Yeah. Like, we need to know what's in your pants if you're going to run for office. Right?
I mean, why not? We gotta test everything else.
Well, you got to look at a guy like Peter Thiel. He's gay. He's married to a guy. But it's not going to touch him. This is the thing. It will never touch him. Because he's got Boku bucks. It'll never, the things that he is advocating for, the fascist regime that made him go to Donald Trump and say, you've got to put this J.D. Vance guy on the ticket because he's my boy. This stuff is never going to touch those people, but it's gonna railroad not just members of the LGBTQIA plus community. It's gonna affect cis people, as we just saw in Paris. And we've been saying this for years.
Yeah, this was a long time coming. Pat Manuel kind of said it best. Is like, I didn't know that gender was going to be the controversy at this year's Olympics. But eventually, I cannot get over how fabulous you look, Ember. I know you're like, oh, I look silly and stuff, but No, that outfit is lit. I love the sparkle. I love it.
Oh, same. I was like, oh, ah.
Mm.
I get unreasonably excited, but this one was definitely worth it.
Yeah, you're looking good, girl. All right, you got any closing statements for us tonight?
Well, we've got more good news on the way, and today, in honor of Dr. Ben dropping by, we have a one of the trans people in history shorts, which features another trans man doctor from the turn of the 20th century.
Sweet. That's good to hear. I don't know who it is, so I'm excited to learn about somebody else in history.
Hell yeah.
All right, and we're actually going to jump right into that from here. We're going right into watching good news, because I've decided to switch things up, because that way Ember can watch from the side chat, interact with you while good news is playing. I think that's probably the best way to do it. And then she doesn't have to stay up that much later to wait for my segment to finish before she can communicate or interact with good news. So I'm doing this because I think it make the flow of the show better, gives us a chance to backstage panel while we watch good news. So that's where we're going next. All right, final statements on the panel there. Let's see. Amber just had some words. Steph?
I'll just I'm not going to ramble on too much. I think Carly and I are going to do sort of hang out, and I hope Ben will stick around for that, because I'd like to get into the whole Brazilian boxing conversation, because that is a hell of a conversation to have.
Oh yeah, I'll be here for that.
All right, excellent. But I'm going to do a little thing. I should go back to not the catastrophe that you're looking at behind me, but I'm going to be talking about a tale of two weekends, the regatta last weekend and the regatta I got coming up, and just a little bit of a personal story about how just being is enough to change people's minds. So that's a little bit of good news too.
All right. And Ben, I'm glad to hear you're sticking around. We do the show in segments from here moving forward. So it'll be Ember's segment, and then I'll do a solo segment where I'm going to talk about this Richard Dawkins nonsense. So stick around for that. I am going to break that down, and we're going to go over it. It should just be a little 10-minute segment. Yeah, that face is right for what we're dealing with Dawkins. So, yeah, hang around, stick around. We will. Yeah. Oh, there you go too. Like Steph Carly saying in the side chat there, TransPositions Sports is doing Sports Center tonight. So yeah, Carly and Steph together, and sounds like Ben's in here Ben, for it too.
Sounds like Ben's in for it too. We're on it, folks. We're gonna have that. We're gonna have that sitting around the little horseshoe table. We're all gonna be sitting around the little horseshoe table talking about. Oh, tell me like this. It's like.
All right.
So Charles, what do you think about?
Our audience is so affirming. There's kind of a rule over at.
We'll see who winds up being Terry Bradshaw and the whole thing.
Oh man, Sports Center. I remember Sports Center. What was the one that was on? Might have been Sports Center. There was one that was on after our weekly news at like 10:30. It's like on between that and when the late night talk shows would come on. I can't remember what it was, but it had is it something around the world or spanning the globe? That's what it was.
Just think of us as your alternative to Barstool Sports, okay?
Yeah. And we cover all the sports too. Football and stuff, sure, and the Olympic Games, but we also we talked about darts. We have a trans dart player that we cover pretty regularly, so come around and watch us talk about that. And you'd be surprised how many trans athletes that we can squeeze into an episode. There's a lot of us out there competing and trying our best on both sides. So, yeah, stick around. More show to come. I'm going to go ahead and cut this segment here. So, thank you for joining the TransPositions weekly panel, Dr. Ben, and we'll see you in sports.
And now, trans people in history.
Alan L. Hart was born in 1890. Living on his grandparents' farm in Oregon from the age of 5, he was allowed to present as male, a period he later described as exceedingly happy. So supportive was his family of his childhood social transition that when his grandparents passed away, both obituaries listed him as a grandson. At 12, a change of schools meant he was obliged to present as female on campus, though he was allowed to use his chosen name. He attended what is now Lewis and Clark College, Stanford University, and earned a Doctor of Medicine degree from what is today the Oregon Health and Science University. He continued ongoing education throughout his career, obtaining degrees in radiology, public health, and participating in various research fellowships, among other things, across the years. He devoted his medical research to tuberculosis. At the time, scientists had already discovered the disease was spread by an airborne pathogen which could be treated, but only if discovered in the early stages, which was something of a problem since it often presented no symptoms until much more advanced. Hart helped pioneer the use of X-ray photography for TB screening, which was the first effective method for early detection. By the time antibiotics became available in the 1940s, doctors using his techniques had already cut the mortality rate of the disease by 98%. He quite literally saved hundreds of thousands of lives. Between 1933 and 1945, he worked with the Idaho Tuberculosis Association, establishing permanent and portable clinics, as well as traveling the state for screenings, education, training, and treating patients. In 1948, he repeated his performance in Connecticut, establishing a model that would be replicated in other states, saving countless more lives. A prolific author of both journal papers and popular articles, in 1943 he wrote a textbook on the uses of X-ray technology and the cases it could be applied to that is still in use today. Despite his extensive skill in medicine, he still faced hardship in social situations as a transgender person. In 1917, he became the first American to undergo sex reassignment surgery, which he followed immediately with a legal name change. However, as an intern at San Francisco Hospital, he was outed by a former classmate who ran to tell the local newspaper the sensational tale, which printed his dead name and misgendered him throughout the article, going so far as to describe him as a Stanford grad who had been a quote fluffy co-ed who affected boyish mannerisms. Since the cat was out of the bag, Dr. Hart leaned into it, giving interviews describing what it felt like growing up and being forced into the wrong gender. He said, quote, "I am happier since I made this change than I ever have in my life, and I came home to show my friends that I am ashamed of nothing." When synthetic hormones became available in 1920, he began taking HRT, allowing him to experience a deeper voice, facial hair, and physical masculinization, much like trans men today. In his final years, he gave numerous lectures and devoted his free time to fundraising for medical research and to provide care for patients who could not afford treatment. In one graduation speech to med students, he said, quote, "Each of us must take into account the raw material which heredity dealt us at birth and the opportunities we have had along the way, and then work out for ourselves a sensible evaluation of our personalities and accomplishments." His ashes were scattered over Puget Sound, where he and his wife had spent many happy summers.
Good news, everyone! Tonight, more phobe fails. History happens, one mega loser, and more. Good news starts right now. Our first story tonight. Every anti-trans ballot initiative in the state of Colorado fails. From Aaron in the Morning. Last week, Protect Kids Colorado announced at a sparsely attended press conference that all of its anti-transgender ballot initiatives failed to meet the signature requirements to appear on the 2024 ballot. The initiatives included a forced outing bill and a transgender sports ban, as well as a previously failed measure such as banning gender-affirming care for trans youth. Colorado joins a series of states where anti-trans ballot initiatives have failed to meet the signature requirements, indicating potential fatigue on the issue among conservative voters. At the press conference, a speaker announced, quote, "We are striving to make Colorado a safer place to live for families and children. Despite falling short of the required signatures to make the 2024 ballot,
we consider this ballot initiative effort a major success."
The only video of the press conference appeared on a small YouTube account, which briefly panned to show only 2 other people attending. The group was responsible for 2 ballot initiatives approved for signature collection. The first, titled Parental Notification of Gender Incongruence, would have required public school employees to notify parents of any observed gender incongruence among students, effectively instituting a forced outing policy. However, unlike similar policies, this effort would take things a step further by effectively forcing an enforcement of gender stereotypes onto children. The second, titled Public Athletic Programs for Minors, aimed to bar transgender individuals from participating in sports according to their gender identity. Other initiatives, such as prohibit certain medical procedures for minors, which sought to ban gender-affirming care in the state, had failed earlier in the process. The initiatives were heavily promoted by SPLC-designated hate groups and anti-transgender activists. Riley Gaines, for instance, called on parents, coaches, and spiritual leaders to support the initiative efforts. Chloe Cole, widely acknowledged grifter, who had pushed similar failed initiatives in California, also boosted the organization on her Twitter account. Gays Against Groomers Colorado posted the most widely viewed announcement stating, quote, "Although we were not successful in this round to get these issues onto the ballot, we were successful in educating Colorado voters about what is happening to children and motivating parents to become involved." Well, they're right about that. We're seeing more and more parents become trans rights activists by the day. Because the simple message that even conservatives believe in is leave the kids the hell alone. Continuing on, anti-transgender ballot initiatives, once touted by influential activists as the next front in targeting transgender people, have faced significant setbacks in recent months. In Arizona, Republican Senator Ken Bennett cast the deciding vote against a ballot referendum that would have banned transgender youth from using bathrooms. He expressed concerns about the constitutionality of the bill and mentioned in a separate hearing that he had family members who would be affected. Had he voted in favor of the bill, the question would have appeared on the 2024 ballot. And that's important to note, because while more people are realizing they have friends and family who would be affected by these insane laws, the fact that one representative happened to think of his distant kin, that's no way to run a government. Fortunately, anti-transgender politics are becoming increasingly unpopular in polls. While public opinion can vary based on poll wording, a broader consensus is emerging. Anti-trans measures are widely seen as a distraction. A recent LA Times poll found that 77% of voters believe elected officials use transgender issues to divert attention from more pressing problems. The poll also showed significant opposition to forced outing policies. A recent Navigator poll indicated that Democrats are favored on LGBTQ+ issues and protecting children, with respondents believing that gender-affirming care for transgender youth should be decided by patients, families, and doctors. Additionally, people have a hard time taking the conservative viewpoint seriously while they're simultaneously covering for the actual child predators on their stages. When asked about the failure of this particular set of ballot initiatives in Colorado, transgender state representative Brianna Titone said, quote, "Coloradans knew better than to sign a ballot petition supported by the Colorado GOP. Their obsession with hating the LGBTQ, and particularly the trans community, has been put on full display recently, resulting in people denouncing and leaving the Republican Party. The failure of these ballot initiatives prove that these measures and many of the views of the GOP are out of step with the values of most Coloradoans. The fact that they could not get enough signatures, barely half of what was required to even be placed on the ballot, shows they lack support from everyday voters. The extremist views, like those of their Christian nationalist kin, are not those of the Mile High State." Next up, teachers' unions versus Florida. From Flagger Live. Accusing Florida of dangerous political theater, state and national teachers' unions have urged an appeals court to side with a transgender Hillsborough County teacher who challenged a law requiring educators to use pronouns that align with their sex assigned at birth. The Florida Education Association, the National Education Association, and the American Federation of Teachers last week filed a 47-page brief arguing that the 11th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals should uphold a district judge's decision that the law violates the First Amendment rights of teacher Katie Wood. Quote, "This broad speech-restrictive law singles out Ms. Wood and other transgender educators, prohibiting them from providing students with the personal titles and pronouns they use as a core expression of their identities in their everyday lives," the brief said. The First Amendment forbids such laws. Lawyers for the state went to the Atlanta-based appeals court in April after Chief U.S. District Judge Mark Walker issued a preliminary injunction that blocked enforcement of the 2023 law against Wood. The injunction did not apply statewide or to another plaintiff, A.V. Schwandes, a non-binary teacher fired last year by Florida Virtual School, and the underlying lawsuit remains pending. A panel of the Atlanta-based appeals court is scheduled to hear arguments September 24th in Birmingham, Alabama. The pronoun restriction was part of a series of controversial measures, to say the least, that Governor Ron DeSantis and other Republican lawmakers have approved in recent years that focus on transgender people. For example, they have sought to prevent trans minors from receiving puberty blockers and hormone therapy in order to treat gender dysphoria. The appeals court case centers on part of the 2023 law that says a school employee, quote, "may not provide to a student his or her preferred personal title or pronouns if such preferred personal title or pronouns do not correspond to his or her sex," with the caveat that the state specifically defines sex as whatever happened to be assigned at birth. In a June brief filed at the appeals court, lawyers for the state said public school systems have the authority to regulate the speech of employees. The teachers' unions offer this basic argument that, simply put, Miss Wood, like all school employees, uses personal pronouns and titles, she, her, and Ms., to refer to herself in every aspect of her interactions with others in the workplace, just as we all do in every aspect of our lives. These pronouns and titles do not owe their existence to her responsibilities as a public employee. The brief also contended that the, quote, mandate that transgender educators misidentify themselves is part of a broader effort in Florida to withdraw signs of inclusion in schools, including bans on inclusive symbols such as the pride flag and book bans that are easily weaponized against LGBTQ plus books and authors. Laws that target the speech and viewpoints of a vulnerable minority group based on ignorance, fear, or a desire to harm are unconstitutional. The pronoun restriction is such a law, and certainly not the only one Florida has enacted in recent years. Unfortunately, Florida's public school students, families, and educators are once again the ones who bear the brunt of this dangerous political theater. And however the case turns out, all of that is a matter of legal record. Next, Missouri's mega candidate fails by a huge margin. From Pink News, it turns out that burning LGBTQ plus books with a flamethrower and telling locals that they're weak and gay if they don't vote for you wasn't the recipe for success that Valentina Gomez hoped it would be. The controversial Republican candidate lost the 2024 Missouri Secretary of State primary election on August 6th by a huge margin. Her defeat follows the release of a bizarre campaign video in which she told voters not to be weak and gay while jogging through a historically LGBTQ plus neighborhood. The clip, which tagged Andrew Tate and his brother Tristan, concluded by showing a photo of Gomez proudly holding a gun before ending on her, quote, woman on a mission campaign poster. In June, she took to social media to hit out at Democrat Barbara Pfeiffer, a former United Methodist pastor who now sits in the House State of Representatives and is also running for Secretary of State, tweeting, quote, you have a trans grandchild. That means you raised a groomer. You failed your children and they failed your grandchildren. Also, you're irrelevant and belong in a nursing home. Also in June, Gomez implied that WNBA player Brittany Griner is anti-American, calling her an unpatriotic lesbian who should be rotting in Russian prison. Her shenanigans online, specifically on TikTok and Elon Musk's platform, are numerous. But her social media bio sums up the failed candidate perhaps most succinctly, saying, quote, Christ is king, MAGA, America first. However, despite all her chicanery and far-right extremist homophobic and transphobic rhetoric, Gomez, who is 25, only received 47,000 votes in the primary, accounting for just 7.4% of the total. In a recent Instagram video titled, I just voted for myself, the top comment reads, I'm not sure if you saw, but you lost. By a lot. And while news like that is always music to our ears, the fact that it happened in Missouri is just extra delicious. Next up, San Francisco leads the nation in celebrating Transgender History Month. From Local News Matters, members and supporters of San Francisco's transgender community joined Mayor London Breed and State Senator Scott Wiener to kick off the third annual Transgender History Month by raising the transgender flag over City Hall. In 2021, Mayor Breed declared August as Transgender History Month, making San Francisco the first city in the nation to do so. She also established an Office of Transgender Initiatives and the world's first transgender district. After the pink and blue transgender flag was raised last Thursday, city officials and LGBTQ plus community leaders gave speeches discussing the importance of Transgender History Month and San Francisco's position as a leading force for LGBTQ plus rights. Mayor Breed said, quote, "I appreciate how unique San Francisco is because of how this community has uplifted the movement around trans rights in the country. You make San Francisco a model for the rest of the nation to follow." Senator Weiner is also well known for his advocacy of LGBTQ plus rights. For example, last month, when Governor Gavin Newsom signed legislation that prohibits school districts from requiring school officials to notify parents if their child comes out as transgender or gay, Weiner was a firm supporter of the bill. He said, quote, "We passed and the governor signed into law legislation to ban forced outing policies. We don't allow school districts in California to force teachers to out these kids to their parents." The recent expansion of local and state advocacy to enhance protections for members of the transgender community comes at a time where trans rights are under threat from across the country, Weiner said. While 2024 has been a record-breaking year for bills introduced in state legislatures that target LGBTQ plus rights, most of the bills this year have been defeated. Only 44 of the 527 have made it into law, most of those facing challenges, and that is thanks to community action and voting. Vote. Go vote. Go vote. Honey Mahogany, a transgender woman and director of the city's Office of Transgender Initiatives, highlighted the discrimination faced by transgender youth who, quote, "have become the victims of bullying by the bizarre, obsessive, and insecure weirdos on the right." While the rest of the country has seen a rise in anti-LGBTQ plus legislation and prejudice, San Francisco is seen as a safe haven for us. Gail Lala Chavez, executive director of Lavender Youth Recreation and Information Center, one of the largest and oldest LGBTQ plus youth-serving organizations in the country, said, quote, "San Francisco is where we will be safe. San Francisco is where we will be affirmed. San Francisco is where we can finally live our true selves, be in community, and be loved, absolutely." And in that, there is a beacon of hope. It isn't just one city. Do remember how quickly this reactionary mind virus spread across the country. Just a few years ago, there were 0 anti-LGBT laws being passed in state legislatures. Today, there are hundreds being proposed, but almost all of them failing. As quickly as the fires of hate spread, so too can the calm waters of dignity and acceptance put them out, if we stand up and make our voices heard. And our top story, Imana Khalif wins gold. While not technically trans news, considering all the gender Nazis tried to pile on her, demonstrating that transphobia is often just misogyny with apologetics, we women are so here for her win. From Aaron in the Morning, on Friday, cisgender Algerian female boxer Imana Khalif secured gold in the final match of her weight class, defying far-right critics who have falsely claimed she is a man, despite being assigned female at birth. And living her entire life as a woman, Khalif faced a barrage of attacks questioning her gender. However, her participation was met with overwhelming support and cheers as she entered the arena and ultimately won her match. The championship match started slowly and seemed evenly balanced, with Khalif narrowly taking the first round. In the second round, however, Khalif dominated, landing decisive blows as the announcers observed that the crowd was clearly behind her. By the end of the third round, it was evident that she had won, maintaining her dominance throughout the competition. When the final announcement declared her the winner, the crowd erupted in celebration. Khalif's victory comes after she faced intense criticism from far-right activists, major political figures, and opponents of transgender participation in sports. Despite never having transitioned genders, these critics labeled the cisgender female boxer as a man, including Donald Trump, who responded to Khalif's previous win by declaring, "I will keep men out of women's sports." J. Rowling posting a picture of Khalif stating, quote, "Could any picture sum up our new men's rights movement better? The smirk of a male who knows he's protected by a misogynist sporting establishment enjoying the distress of a woman he's just punched in the head and whose life ambition he's just shattered." Others joining in included Elon Musk, Riley Gaines, and J.D. Vance, among many, many others. Disinformation about her gender identity even spread to major outlets, including the Boston Globe, which inaccurately referred to her as transgender. The paper quickly issued a major retraction of the claim, publishing, quote, "A significant error was made in a headline on a story in Friday's print sports section about Algerian boxer Amani Khalif, incorrectly describing her as transgender. She is not. Additionally, our initial correction of this error neglected to note that she was born female. We recognize the magnitude of this mistake and have corrected it in the e-paper, the electronic version of the printed Globe. This editing lapse is regrettable and unacceptable, and we apologize to Khalif, to Associated Press writer Greg Beecham, and to you, our readers." After Khalif's previous match, she remained defiant, stating, quote, "I dedicate this medal to the world and to all the Arabs, and I tell you, long live Algeria. I want to tell the entire world that I am female and I will remain a female." Viewers may recall that the original claim about Khalif's sex eligibility arose when the scandal-plagued International Boxing Association ruled her out of competition, alleging that she had failed an unspecified gender test after defeating a previously undefeated Russian boxer. Notably, the IBA is presided over by Umar Kremlev of Russia, an associate of President Putin. In 2023, the International Olympic Committee voted to de-recognize the IBA due to concerns about corruption, governance, and judging controversies. According to Kremlev, Khalif was disqualified from the IBA for, quote, having XY chromosomes. However, no such results have been presented. Additionally, many cisgender women have XY chromosomes without knowing it, and some have even given birth. In 1996, chromosomal testing was used on all female Olympic athletes, only to discover that 8 women had XY chromosomes without knowing it. Chromosomal sex testing has subsequently been discontinued. Khalif's victory stands as a pivotal moment in the ongoing conversation about sex and gender. While anti-trans activists may argue that sex is as simple as XY chromosomes, the reality is far more complex. In their shameless effort to stoke outrage against transgender individuals, the far-right transphobes attempted to tear down a young female athlete. They took the mask off and revealed that whether they call themselves Republicans or TERFs or anything else, they simply hate women, both trans and cis, and they do not care. But those efforts have failed publicly and spectacularly, and Khalif now holds a gold medal that can never be taken from her, and the echoes of the crowd's cheers will forever drown out the hateful rhetoric. If you enjoy content like this, make sure to subscribe. Support our work by becoming a patron at patreon.com/TheTransPositions and reap heaps of benefits. Our meme of the week was posted by Bumblebee. And if you want to soak up some schadenfreude at a transphobe's expense, join us on Discord. Also, if you have good news concerning trans people that you'd like to see reported on, you can tell us about it in the Discord as well. For the TransPositions, I've been Ember Belrad.
go. Is it still really low? Let me bump that up. See if that helps. Does that sound better? Still dropping. Hold on just a second. I'm gonna make an adjustment on that. Hopefully that straightens things out. All right. Hi. Thank you for joining me tonight on TheTransPositions. Hello. So happy you're all here. Look at all these new faces in the side chat too. Hello, everybody. Welcome to TheTransPositions. It's a weekly show. We try to keep up on the news and things going on around the world. We have an open panel. Got Ember's good news segments. We got Carly's sports segments, and then I do this little segment that I haven't even picked a name for yet, but I generally cover unscrupulous characters for the most part, doing cruddy things. Sometimes I cover somebody nice doing nice things, though, so it's a mixed bag. Today, we're talking about the one and only Richard Dawkins. All right, now Richard Dawkins. This is all going back to Amanda Khalif, and the people demanding the rights to call her a man. Richard Dawkins is one of these people. Right, and Richard Dawkins is one of these people. Now, he tweeted about this, and then made some different jokes about it, and Elon Musk retweeted. Now you can see that it's gone now, right? It is no more, but it was there. Elon Musk did one of his one word, wow, or, troubling, something like that. And he always does these little one word responses that, I guess are designed to keep him out of legal trouble. But Richard Dawkins was wrong. Yes, that's correct. Richard Dawkins is incorrect on all of this. So, he went on to say that Facebook, Meta, who runs Facebook, deleted his account because of something he tweeted on Twitter. That's the accusation. That's the alleged crime. But everybody gets involved in this, right? And he comes on here and he says, my entire Facebook account has been deleted, seemingly for no reason, because I tweeted that genetically male boxer, such as Amani Khalif, XY Undisputed, should not fight a woman in the Olympics. Of course my opinion is open to civilized argument, but outright censorship? And then and everybody got on board with all these evolutionary blogs and stuff. Like, look at this. This is where they admit that they got it wrong. But let's let Dawkins admit he got it wrong in his own words. Now, he does this kind of backpedal thing, but he doesn't take accountability for any of it. On July 30th, my Facebook account was closed down with no reason given. Associates of mine got in touch with a kind lawyer, very experienced in exactly this kind of case. and he offered pro bono to negotiate with Facebook on my behalf. I appreciated his generosity and appreciated his offer. He approached Facebook and received no reply because no reason was given for shutting down and no reply to the lawyer's overtures. I am sorry to say that we jumped to the wrong conclusion. Might it have some connection with my contemporaneous stand against genetically male boxer fighting? He does it again here. In his apology, he does it again. In the apology, he does it again. I'm just, keep up. All right, so, where was I? In the Olympics. Then I tweeted what turned out to be a false suspicion of Facebook's motives. I deeply regret this. Yeah. You spin these harebrained schemes and we can really see how much you're slipping, Richard. We can see how much you're slipping. So maybe it's time to, just like Trump should stop tweeting, maybe you should too, because all you're doing is making trouble for yourself. And he's not just like, oh, I just don't agree with this thing. He posts like stuff like this. This is Richard Dawkins. This is what he posted in response. This is on August 8th. Now here's the thing about him getting his channel shut down, and him at Meta covered this better and more concisely in like an hour-long episode. He's probably going to have it cut up here into a snippet soon. It was on his last episode. I listen to the Friendly Atheist podcast every week, so you should too. Him at Meta's great. But yeah, this is this kind of stuff that Dawkins was tweeting during all this nonsense. And he thought that this was the reason that Facebook, that Meta, another entity completely independent from X, was censoring him. Censorship, he cries, but no. And the sad part of this is that when he looks into this, we're going to continue on. On August 10th, I received an email from an official at Facebook saying he was looking into the question. He sent me a second email the same day giving a full explanation. Facebook's records showed, he explained, that one of the amends with access to my account had been hacked as long ago as June 22nd. The hacker added a flurry of unauthorized admins. Their subsequent behavior alerted Facebook, who closed the account down while they worked on the problem. My Facebook account was restored on August 11th, and I'm grateful. We knew none of this until August 10th, the 11th day after the account was shut down. Now I am left in the mortifying position of having unjustly imputed an ignoble motive to Facebook. Yeah, you've been doing that a lot lately. I must say it's a pity that whoever decided to close my account, certainly not the kind official who eventually was brought in to investigate the problem, omitted to get in touch with me at the time. Nevertheless, I accept responsibility and publish this to correct the record and apologize. Who are you apologizing to? Just Facebook, right? You should apologize to Khalif. She's the one you're slandering. Not that it matters, because you want this free speech. They don't want free. This goes to show they don't want free speech. They want freedom of consequences, right? If, for instance, Facebook had a clause that said, "Hey, you can't spread medical misinformation," right? And he spread medical misinformation. Yeah, they can yoink his account. That's just the way the platform works. Especially they cracked down on it a lot during the pandemic. I say during like COVID's over. We're still in the thick of it, but you know what I mean. Anyway, yeah, that's what I've got for you tonight. Thank you so much for sticking with me, watching Richard Dawkins do a nice wicked backpedal for us all. I hope you enjoyed that. We'll be back with sports in just a moment.
Valentina Petrillo, next stop, Paris. The Italian Paralympic sprinter is on her way to the big show, and she will become the first out transgender athlete to compete in a Paralympic Games. The Italian sprinter was an 11-time Italian champion before transition, and after transition, she just kept the beat rolling, and we already know there's going to be a world of hurt coming down. Maybe she'll end up like this person, Amani Khalif of Algeria, winning her Olympic gold medal in boxing. And now she's announced that all those people that rode down on her and called her a man, she's suing them. She's filed suit in France against the Daily Mail, the Telegraph, J.K. Rowling, Elon Musk. I hope you guys have some very, very deep pockets, because she's coming for you. And she's got a pretty airtight case. Then, also, later on, we're going to talk about Erica Smith tonight, annoyingly positive. Remember, we did the special on her last month. Well, her and a group of alums of Sweetbriar College, Virginia, are mounting action against the college because the college has decided to ban transgender women from attending. And also tonight, your favorite British endurance racer and mine, Charlie Martin, was on BBC4's The Red Line this afternoon with Sharon Davies.
With me is Charlie Martin, a British racing car driver and transgender rights activist, making the case for that open category in sport is Sharon Davies.
Trans athletes are not a threat in sport. This is a myth, and in fact there's some quite compelling science and factual information that demonstrates this. Trans people have been in sport for 100 years. Trans men were competing back in the 1920s. This is not a new phenomenon. The International Olympic Committee has allowed trans people to compete since 2004. In that time, not a single trans person has won a medal or broken a record or dominated. Trans people make up 1% of the population. It's pretty widely acknowledged. Of that 1%, only a small fraction play sport, let alone at an elite level or a professional level. And so the idea that trans people will dominate sport against the other 99% of people in the world is highly improbable. And we have this kind of mass panic, and it all seems to stem from an abstract fear of a perceived threat that has never really manifested itself.
Hello again, everybody. I'm Carly Chardonnay Webb, your commentator with the cat ears. This is Transposition Sports. All that in the roundup and more coming up throughout this. But first, some appreciation for an Olympic hero. Bree, kick it. Nikki Hiltz, American middle distance runner, hometown Aptos, California. At the Olympic trials in July, they ran their way right into our hearts by winning a national championship and setting a record and punching their ticket to the Olympic Games in Paris. In Paris, they didn't disappoint. Ripped through the rounds, and I mean ripped through them, and even showed us that they got moves. Jack Hiltz, an Olympic gold medal winner in the long jump, Tara Davis-Woodhull out. And by the way, Tara, good luck to your husband at the Paralympics coming up in a couple weeks. Now, Hiltz didn't win an Olympic medal, did reach the 1500 meter final, finished seventh. But nonetheless, they are a hero to many of us. Nikki Hiltz, you done good. You done real good. And look who's joining me tonight. I am not alone. This is what happens if SportsCenter and the McLaughlin Group had a child. I've got Stephanie Helms. I've got Ben Hamilton here on Transposition Sports. And I want to talk for a minute, first off, about Nikki Hiltz. Weren't they marvelous?
Absolutely.
They were.
I mean, weren't they marvelous? And one thing about Nikki, they aren't done. They're still young. They can make another run in LA in 4 years. But in the short term, I could see the world championships in the next year. I can tell you, but one thing, though, Hiltz was throwing against a stacked deck, especially in that final, as fast as that final would be. And first off, I mean, it took speed and it took faith. Kipyegon that is to win that 1500. That's the thing. It was, I mean, Kipyegon, Jessica Hull from Australia. It was a blistering pace that was put up, and there was a point in the Bell lap where it looked like Hiltz could have a shot, but then Hiltz got jostled by Algeria from Kenya, and it just took the wind out their sails. But nonetheless, Nikki Hiltz did a great job. I'm just wondering, take it around the horn real quick for the both of you. What are your one memory that you have from these games if you watched?
So many memories in the games, and I'm still watching replays because there are too many sports that I enjoy watching, and just the fact that so many of these people you see on the screen, and you can judge them all you want of like, oh, this person wasn't the gold medal winner, or like they weren't as fast as this other person. Like, I dare anybody to get out on the track with these people, or get into the pool with Katie Ledecky, get onto the climbing wall with any of these people. Like, they're among their peers, but any one of us, more than likely, and except with the exception of some of the professional athletes here, like the majority of us could not ever hope to last with these people in that sport. Like, they may look slow compared to some other peers, but like, don't be fooled. Like, these are some incredible feats of human strength, human agility, human speed, all of these incredible attributes, and smarts, and that's the other thing too. Like, and I'm sure we'll get into this as we go on, but too often people think of athleticism being a male trait, or being primarily muscle strength, like weightlifting strength, and that's all they think athletics is. But people forget that if you don't have strategy, if you don't have agility, if you don't have like determination, perseverance, all of these things together make an athlete. And I think more often than not, people who aren't athletes are the ones judging most of the time, because they don't see those other pieces. But if you're the one training day in and day out, like, you know that you could have a bad day and it's not your day. Like, if your timing is off on those punches, you're not going to win that day. And people don't get it. Even if you're the biggest, strongest person in the room, it might not be your day. And chromosomes don't mean shit. Like, we're gonna get into
I mean,
and one person real quick I want to bring up, since you talked about brains and athleticism. Yeah, if you talked about brains and athleticism, I want to talk about Gabby Thomas, who won the 200 meters. Gabby Thomas, United States, undergraduate from Harvard, graduate degree from the University of Texas, right now running a free health clinic in Austin, and is an Olympic champion. Right there, that's just, but there's a whole lot of what you're seeing. I mean, brains and brawn don't have to be mutually exclusive. That's one thing. Stephanie, what about you? What was your Olympic memory?
Well, I'm biased, obviously, and that you can see that this is my sport, and tragedy can occur, and it did occur for Stu McNay and his crew in the 470s, which is the mixed dinghy. The 470s used to be men's 470s, women's 470s, but they decided to make it a mixed thing, and there are some women who are steering. There are some men who are steering, and it's really, it's such an equipment dependent sport, and a type form thing. Have Steph say "have it" in her New England accent. Okay, it's really quite fascinating. I know Stu, and his when it was a men's thing, my this kid who's like 20 years younger than me or so, 25 years younger than me, sailed with me when he was in high school on my J24. So yeah, my Olympic memory was that team going to the wrong side of the race course and winding up almost second to DFL, which was not a good move. Ben and I watched that little contest, and I was providing commentary all the way through. It's like, oh no. But I didn't have an opportunity to watch a good deal of a whole bunch of the Olympics, but it has been a memorable games, really, really memorable games. And the thing that always strikes me is, for the athletes, it is such a tremendous honor to be representing your country. And it makes me heartsick to think that people would stoop so low to take away that moment in a 25-year-old woman's life. And it's not just, there were two women, both won gold, and they were both maligned.
You're talking about also Taiwan's Lin Yuting winning her division in boxing as well. And one thing I will give, one thing I'll give the people of her hometown in Taiwan, they swung up. Taiwan swung up for her. I mean, I've never seen it. I saw an entire country just say, "J.K. Rowling, you're not welcome here," and that was just something to see the support that I saw from both the Algerian fans, because after all, Algeria was a colony of France, so you have a lot of Algerians who live in France, and they were there. Oh, Algerian flags all over the place. The fight against Suwan Fang from Thailand, the championship, that felt like a title fight in Las Vegas. That's what that felt. It had the electricity of a world champ, of a professional championship fight.
That gives me a good deal of hope, because from so many perspectives, we talked about this last week about how this has to have made an impact with the IOC and how they're going to approach this stuff. Because their statement on this issue was really quite forthright and in keeping with the framework that they propounded in November 2021, and it's got to have made an impact on not just the IOC, but world aquatics, world athletics, and world sailing. What you open yourself up, what we were saying all along, what you open yourself up for when you basically have opened the door to people saying she's not a woman because she doesn't dress like one. She doesn't engage in the feminine attributes. You open yourself up to a position where you're going to start accusing, and I say accusing, as if it's a bad thing. And that's the other part of the story. It's like, why is being trans bad?
Well, see, that's the thing. I, for myself, love all the think pieces. Loved all the people who spoke out for Amani Khalif. But there's the question. And before anyone says it, yes, we know what Algeria's laws are. To me, they're immaterial. They're immaterial in this case, because that is often used as a deflection to talk about what we need to be talking about. And 2 weeks in the Paralympics, we will be talking about it. Kick it, Bree. Because of a certain sprinter from Bologna, Italy, named Valentina Petrillo, who qualified. And Valentina's quick before transition. Mind you, all those people say, hey, she was lousy in the men's event. No, before transition, 11-time Italian para-athletic champion in the sprints. He transitioned in 2019. Finally got the right to run in 2020. final and won an Italian championship. Repeated in 21, 22, and in 23 she had her breakthrough. Here she is at 400 meters at the World Para-Athletic Championships last year in Paris. Digging around the corner, ended up third in the 400 and ended up third in the 200. Valentina Petrillo is a definite medal threat. Going into these Paralympic Games, he has the 10th fastest time in the world this year at 200 meters, the 6th fastest time at 400. And based on past seasons, she hasn't hit anywhere near her peak yet. And on Monday, September 2nd, she stands in the blocks for the first round of the 400. Now, she has a story, and part of that story is an inspiration. Go back, Sherman, set the Wayback Machine for 1980. Kick it, Bree. Keep it going. 1980, Moscow, Summer Olympics. Yes, I know. The Americans weren't there, but the Italians were. And there was a sprinter, iconic sprinter, legendary sprinter, former 200-meter world record holder, Pietro Manea. And Manea got to the finals of the 200 meters in Moscow. Now, what did this Bambino do? Well, let me tell you. Settling in the blocks just ahead of Britain's Alan Wells. Alan Wells won the 100 meters earlier in the week. And Wells was looking to get that double. And early on, it looked like he was going to get it. Wells make up the stagger from the start. Silvio Leonard from Cuba is also there. This is going to be a fight. It looks like Alan Wells is going to get double gold, but check out Manea. Check out Manea. Just like a Ferrari. He got in 7th gear and got through it, winning the 200 meters in an upset. One of the people watching, a 6-year-old Valentina Petrillo. And Petrillo considers Manea a hero to her. And now 44 years later, she's getting her opportunity. Now, first off, let's talk about the obvious thing. You know, and it's already starting. I mean, icons, J.K. Rowling, Sharon Davies, they're all, the anti-trans people are already chirping. They're already chirping. A note to all the people, all that smoke that you had for Amani Khalif, all that protective energy you have for her. Here's the moment of truth. Will that be there for Valentina Petrillo? Yeah, I'm asking both of you. What's it? I mean, what's the temperature going to look like?
Yeah,
for her.
Step in there,
I don't know. I don't know, and it's very hard to tell because a couple of things here though, and it's unfortunate that it seems to be that a lot of the general public do not care about the Paralympics. They'll watch the Olympics and they'll call it, like, they'll think of it as, you know, the real Olympics, and they separate these out. And so I don't think it's going to have the same publicity as, you know, boxing in the Olympics with that situation. However, it really could be anything. I expect that if it does get publicity, people will immediately go to the negative, and I'm sure that that's going to be the case. So I'm not hopeful. I don't expect much in her favor, and like from the publicity side, I hope I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong. But just the way that the climate has been with regard to cis people, like I'm not hopeful that it's going to miraculously change based on the recent events.
Stephanie, what are you thinking?
I don't think it will either, to be honest. I think that there's But I think that what happened in the Olympics just now is illustrative of how absurd it is to draw these borderlines where they're being drawn, considering that we've had a 24-year history of not drawing these borderlines where they're being drawn. And we're just now seeing, if you think that the world population of transgender individuals is, let's say, 0.4% of the world population, that means there should have been, like, with 13,000 athletes in Tokyo, you would have thought there would have been more than one transgender representative there. And it just isn't happening. And the reason it's not happening is because transgender people have been too afraid to participate in that area of life. I mean, growing up trans. When you're talking about an athletic career, you're talking about these are things you get involved with when you're a kid. And when you're bullied off the playground, when you're bullied off the race course, when you're bullied out of that aspect of things, you're not going to go into sports. You're just not. And that's why trans people have been underrepresented in history, throughout history. And now that, one person decides to, suit up and dive into the pool or hit the track or hit the race course, it gives you sort of a creepy feeling that why are you really going here? And I don't think that a guy, for instance, like Pine Creek, who's been stumping all over the damn internet about, this is terrible. And it's not just people like him who are right wingers. It's a whole bunch of people will say I'm a woman until I'm doing that. And I just think it's kind of I think it's kind of kooky, and people kind of need to reevaluate what sports are, what they mean. People say, well, I don't care about sports, but they do care about games, don't they? What was Gamergate all about?
True.
People do care about playing games, and sports are fundamentally a game. It's competition, and whether it's playing trivia on Dr. Ben's trivia night, or whether it's trying to do something as absurd as beating people at the great speed of 4.5 knots. It doesn't matter. It's a game. It's a game you play, and I do think that people care about that. And when you draw the line, keep us out of that area, where do you draw the line next? That's my question.
Well, I can say that there was someone in the chat who was saying that Paralympics gets ignored, so Valentina might not get as much press. Well, first off, the Paralympics will have 4,500 athletes from 154 nations. It will be the second largest sporting event in the world this year, obviously behind the Olympic Games that just ended. However, one thing about the Paralympics, number one, there is a big push to get more people to watch, especially in the United States. Team USA Paralympians have been all over social media, and those who just competed in the Olympics are also being part of that effort. NBC and Peacock are upping their NBC through Peacock through their networks are upping their commitment. They're going to show more hours than ever. Peacock will show every event, so it's accessible. But also, in the rest of the world. For example, Channel 4 in the UK is the Paralympic broadcaster. They get ratings for the Paralympics that rival the Olympics. So, and in a lot of countries, put a commitment. SBS and Network 7 in Australia, they put up a hefty commitment to the Paralympics. So a lot of nations are going to be watching. France 24 will provide as much coverage of the Paralympics as they did the Olympics. That was in their home country. So this will be covered. And the Valentina story will be covered. I mean, she was front page of La Gazzetta dello Sport in Italy today. She was on the front page. So this is a story that I think it will have legs, and the big sport turfs like Linda Blade and Nancy Hogshead and Navratilova are already jumping on this. So again, I'm imploring those people. If you've got that much smoke to be protective, you better be prepared to speak out. And there's also another thing that also as this, if Valentino Petrillo wins a gold medal, because the prime minister of Italy made sure that she got to shake hands with as many medal winners as possible. We know who Giorgia Meloni is. Una donna, una madre, un italiana, un cristiana, un anti-gay, un anti-LGBT, un anti-LGBTQ.
Well,
we know who they
hey,
don't call
Carly,
Mussolini for nothing now.
Carly, for Christ's sake, she's cisalpine. What do you want? You know.
But that's one thing we have to look at. And another person whose mouth was running, who's already been running about this, Sharon Davies, our favorite transphobic swimmer from the UK. She's already run her mouth this, and today she was on BBC4, show called The Red Line, where they bring people from opposing viewpoints together and see if we can find common ground, have a civil discussion. Well, Sharon was on the show with British endurance racing and transgender trailblazer Charlie Martin. And needless to say, and first, I'm a big fan of Charlie Martin. And you know that Charlie is as wonderful off the track as she is fast on it. And Sharon Davies tried to use that as a weakness. Don't believe me? Bree, kick it.
If we really want to improve women's sport, then if we want to make it fair, then we need to remove the boundaries, the obstacles for fairness, and that's not trans people. And also this transphobic narrative, it affects all trans people. In America, 25 out of 50 states have banned trans kids from playing sport in the gender that they identify as.
There's a lot there, Sharon. I wonder if you want to reflect back to Charlie.
Absolutely, very happy to unpack
what you've heard her say to Charlie.
The youngsters that have been banned from sport in America, the trans youngsters, have not been banned from sport. They've been banned from a category they don't qualify for.
I'm going to hold you. I'm going to be really tough here, Sharon. In terms of what I really want you to do is reflect back.
I can't answer this if it's misrepresented. So I need to give you the facts and the science.
The toxic nature of this discussion and the misunderstandings that it creates in society really severely impact the lives of trans people in this country. Hate crimes have increased by 186% in the last 5 years against trans people. And so I think when we're having this discussion, we do need to rely on science. We do need to be clear and level-headed and not kind of dogmatic in our viewpoints.
Yeah, I mean, when we talk about hate crimes in the UK, a woman gets killed every 2 days in this country.
So what I'm hearing you say is...
But women find a place for trans athletes. That's my point. So women aren't the issue with this. Women already are very happy for trans-identifying females to be in their category. They really have no issue with it. Trans-identifying males somehow don't feel welcome in the men's category. So it's men that need to resolve this problem, not women.
So that's your response to Charlie, and I think...
Well, I was just going to say that trans men do compete in male categories. And actually, if you go out there and you look, there's quite a few of them. I can mention a few of them. Chris Mosey, a triathlete, first known trans man to represent US in international competition, qualified for Olympic trials.
Very few, though, versus the very, 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 very few versus trans-identifying males who compete in women's sport. So I could give you about 200 examples in America, cycling alone. So And that's what really bothers me with all of this all the time. It's just women that are supposed to budge over. I don't believe the solution is to try to include somebody in a category where it doesn't fit. Maybe the solution is to try and create extra categories.
So, Charlie, what are you hearing there?
Yeah, thanks, Sharon. I'm hearing that you feel that you're under threat, and I think that's something that really comes across.
Not me.
Well, you said that you are being threatened.
Oh yeah, personally, but that's because I speak out. So the people I speak out for are the young girls that will lose their opportunities today.
I'm hearing Sharon's ideas around, a solution being an extra category, which is strange because only a couple of days ago on Talk TV she said that category doesn't work.
No, I don't believe it will work. I believe an open category is the answer, but I'm saying it's part of a respectful debate. You throw in all sorts of options and you listen to it.
I think, to an extent, why she feels aggrieved and why she would be able to channel that into something she feels is a positive action to protect women. But I can't get over the fact that she doesn't acknowledge trans women as women and trans men as men, and that's a fundamental stumbling block that I think we're going to...
Sharon Davies needs therapy.
Yep.
Sharon Davies, you're an old crone who's still upset over a race you lost 44 years ago. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. If you have a problem with an East German beating you because they were on dope, Petra Snyder lives in Germany. Go there. In fact, BBC, do you want BBC? I love Charlie Martin. Charlie Martin is polite as pie and wonderful and everything that's right and decent. She's a wonderful advocate for trans people in the UK. But the fact of the matter is, you put Miss Moneypenny against Pussy Galore, and it wasn't fair. So you know what? BBC4, let me take on Sharon Davies. The first thing I'll do is sing the East German national anthem to her. Because transgender people had absolutely nothing to do with DDR state research plan 14.25. We had nothing to do with the fact that you weren't fast enough because a doper beat you. You have a problem with Petra Schneider, you go to Germany and you deal with it with her. But don't beat up on me and mine, and especially young trans kids in the UK who are already taking a beating every day from yourself and Posey Parker and Piers Morgan and the Tory and the Labour government, because they're not much better. That I felt for Charlie.
Well, let me just say.
By the way, the whole interview, I put it in the notes, about 28 minutes. I can tell you, I felt for Charlie because Charlie's actually trying to have a conversation. Sharon Davies went there to embarrass her. Sharon Davies went there with one purpose and one purpose only. Sharon, it was like a rowboat going against a German U-boat. That's how bad that was.
Well, let me just say
that was Nigel Farage action, and that was not right.
Let me just say that when we're talking about gender affirming hormone therapy, that wasn't what got Lance Armstrong thrown out of cycling. And it was in fact gender affirming hormone therapy. He had testicular cancer, and it's like, well, you're gonna lose your, it's a therapeutic thing. It was a medically necessary thing for this dude. The blood doping, on the other hand, was not. He had a therapeutic use exemption for the testosterone. He cheated by increasing his VO2 levels, by stockpiling his blood so that he would have more oxygen carrying capacity in his bloodstream when he did the Tour de France. Guess what happens as a result of gender affirming hormone therapy for transgender women? Rather quickly, in fact,
decreases.
Dr. Ben?
Yeah.
Dr. Ben, fill us in.
That give you an advantage.
Fill us in. Yeah.
Very, very drastically decreases those things.
And very quickly.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's science. That's medical science.
But you have to understand.
And the other thing, before I get off my soapbox, the other thing I have to say is just politically, Martina Navratilova looks rather stupid, because there is an interview out there wherein people asked her about Renee Richards, and she said that they asked, "Oh, how did you feel about competing against Renee when they were in the circuit together?" It's like, oh, we were fine with it. We might not have been quite so fine with it if she was winning matches. And that's
but that's what it is. That's what it is. Yeah. I mean, we all know the game. I mean, we know what the game is. And for me, listening to that, my whole thing is that Sharon Davies sounds like went there basically with an axe to grind. And that happens a lot in the media, is that, and to be blunt, the moderator was trying to keep them on, talk to the issues, the rules of that show. The way that show works is, one person asks you a question, the other person responds to that question. And here's Sharon bringing on 50 other things that have nothing to do with what Charlie's talking about. And during the time, using that trans-identified nonsense, which is really soft-ass misgendering.
Trans-identified male.
Yes. And to me, that wasn't right. To me, especially, that just wasn't right, because here's Charlie Martin. And if you've ever seen, if you've seen Charlie Martin's videos on her website, her social media, she's always very upbeat. It's always very upbeat. It's always about, find your mountain, off you go. And she's been through reasons where she's had no reason to be upbeat. I mean, she's had a lot of deals in racing fall through because people get their own little transphobia going on, but she keeps on keeping on this. I mean, early in July, she got an opportunity to June, she got an opportunity to race at Le Mans. That was great. I hope that somebody comes up with a seat so she can do the 24 hours next year. I mean, just a note to teams out there, if you're looking for a good hot shoe that your sponsors will love, you want Charlie Martin. If I had a prototype team, she'd be the first person I'm calling. But of course, I'm a little bit broke, so I can't have that. But to me, that was just horrible. I'm like, Ben, you got anything to add to this? Because to me, the whole, they're just transphobes are wow.
It's wild, and it's funny because trans men break their narratives so much that they just either forget about us, and intentionally don't mention it, because if their categories exist where we are rigidly stuck within our chromosomal categories or our gamete potential categories, if you go down those goalpost moving scenarios, I, for all intents and purposes, should stay in a women's division, despite the fact that all of their concerns towards, but you have hormones that give you an advantage. Well, I intentionally do, but why are you more worried about these trans women who are taking a hormone that gives them a disadvantage, yet I'm too weak of a person to go in a men's division with my hormones that will give me an advantage, and I should still belong in the women's division, but I'm not robbing things from women. I'm not robbing any of that. I'm not in the wrong place. And it's funny because the times where they have gotten on trans men's cases were primarily in wrestling, where they've been in men's divisions.
You're talking about, for example, Mac Beggs.
Yeah, it's he was crushing people in the women's division and stuff, but and they're trying to say that he was a trans woman, but he's not. He's a trans man, and then he went on to compete in men's divisions.
He went on to compete. He went to a boys tournament. Yeah, he went to a boys tournament. In fact, he was at the USA Wrestling Texas tournament. where you can make Team Texas, and like there is like this big wrestling tournament of the states where each state brings an all-star team. He made Team Texas. He finished third in that tournament against boys. He beat 2 state champions in his weight class to get to that final. Mind you, he's I mean, Mike Beggs was no joke. All he wanted to do was wrestle as the boy he is. But that's all of it. See, I'm of a belief that for example, if Hergy Bacladan, the Filipino boxer who was at the Olympics, I'm convinced if he would have won, people would have lost their mind, because he was a man, but who hadn't started HRT, was still competing in women's competition because he hadn't started hormone replacing therapy yet. Mm-hmm. And said point blank, I have no reason, I don't want to, has said openly that he won't pursue those options in the future, which is within his rights to do. Mm-hmm. But I think people, when you get some young trans boy, and there's plenty of trans boys playing high school sports, one of them ends up being like a Rivals 100 selection that's going to Division I, people gonna lose their mind. People gonna still lose their mind about that. I mean, eventually it's gonna go.
And it's wild too, because like of people because I come from Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and like our sport culture is very unique in that it oftentimes can be more egalitarian than a lot of sports, because of what women's jiu-jitsu has done and what they have fought for. But it's really funny because you walk into most gyms, and the person who is kind of seen as the mat enforcer, like the one who humbles all the new people that come in thinking that they're hot shit, is usually a very small cis woman. Like that's the person who's the one you don't want to take on, because she will wreck you and send you home crying. Like, and that's how it goes. And that's consistent among most jujitsu like academies, is that there is a small cis woman that will wreck your shit, and if you can handle it, you stay and you get better, and if you can't handle it, you leave and you don't do jujitsu. So it's like the assumption that like athleticism is masculine and that women aren't contenders just as themselves and don't have biological advantages. Like, you're absolutely missing what sport is, and we've all touched on that. And in fact, there's a lot more, like in a lot of sports, women's sports are more fun to watch because they're a lot more dynamic. They don't have some of those biological advantages to use as crutches oftentimes, like in early training, and so you just get some really amazing technique. And that's also what happens with trans women, who don't have those biological advantages. Again, like as we're seeing in the data, there isn't a biological advantage to being a trans woman.
Well, wait a minute. I gotta get out the elephant in the room. Here's the elephant in the room, right there. The elephant in the room is transmisogyny, and it hits trans men as much, at least, as it does trans women, because there are these assumptions that we have about what an individual. Sports is about individual excellence, right? Within a certain bunch of criteria. But it's about individual excellence. Sports are not fair. The first panel that we did, that's the first thing I said. It's when somebody asked that question. Sports aren't fair. I mean, it's like it's a weird thing. But there are these cultural assumptions that keep, and it came out with the whole boxing thing. That's not feminine. She looks like a man.
Mm-hmm.
She's not, but there's that, and the same thing goes where there's this assumption that a trans guy is never gonna make it. And so we're seeing this thing where oh, trans women are going to dominate sports, and trans men are just, well, nice try, honey, but
Well,
you're
it's
just
also
a girl. It's bullshit.
well, and another thing is not only are they saying you're just a girl, they're trying to. Everybody is still. It's interesting because now everybody's wondering, how do we define woman or girl now? How do we define it? Because in the you know what they do. What is a woman? Well, apparently you just said that Amani Khalif, a cisgender woman's not a woman. So come on.
Yeah, because they were saying it was anatomy, and now they're saying no, it's your chromosomes, and not your anatomy.
And this is where I
So then it's not your
and
hormones either. If it's just your chromosomes, then you're saying that the hormones do not matter.
The fact is,
and this is where I get. This is where this argument I butt up against the argument of people who are
but that's
allies.
Now it's like
who will say, "Oh, XY, that means you're disqualified from women's sport, regardless of your phenotype." Regardless of your hormonal makeup, regardless of the entire cluster of things that contribute to the kind of physicality you can actually display. And so I'm sorry, Mr. Woodford. I'm sorry, Professor Dave. You're wrong. You're wrong there.
Well, I can tell you this much.
I'm sorry, Pine Creek.
It even goes into things,
but
it even goes into things such as style of play. I've heard this from. This is not the first time we've heard this about cisgender women. We've heard this all through. I mean, a perfect example. Look at the WNBA. People diss the WNBA because the women are tall, gay, and largely black. Let's just be real about that. Or they're not the right. If you're not a girl, first they say you're not a girl, then they say you're not right kind of girl. I don't like watching Diana Taurasi play. She plays too much like a man. Never mind, she's a great member of mine. Watching her play is like watching symphonies being created. I mean, watch it. I mean, 20 also, oh, she's too old, or she's too good, or she's too this, or here's this, she's too pretty, or she's too athletic. I mean, come on. Simone Biles has ruined gymnastics, some people say. Never mind that she's captivated more
by
people.
Being excellent,
by being good,
by being untouchable. Katie Ledecky has ruined swimming.
What's the point of the Olympics then? Like, what's the point of these if you don't want people to show up with their best?
My favorite
why
is
are you asking them to compete at their best?
I want to be clear. I'm not trying to lump people who are actually allies into the same basket as people who are hostile, literally hostile to us. But you got to ask yourself, why are you drawing the line there? Why?
Mm-hmm. But while we're not trying, but I also look at allies with some side people who claim allyship, who are saying things like, well, Amani Khalif wasn't trans. She wasn't trans, so it's so wrong that she was being treated this way. But here's a question. Let's say that it wasn't Amani Khalif. Let's say you had a boxer from Canada named Irma Ketterman, who was a transgender woman, who, by the way, transgender women would have been allowed to compete in boxing at this Olympic tournament because the IOC, through the Paris Boxing Unit, ran the Olympic tournament. And the Olympic tournament went by the rules that the IOC had set in regards to the serum testosterone standards in 2015. Those rules were in effect, one. And number two, the framework on fairness would be in effect for this tournament, i.e., especially Principle 5, Principle 6, no presumption of advantage without definitive proof of said advantage that must be shown by scientific, medical, and competitive avenues.
Peer-reviewed research.
It
says that in the paper.
It's in the regs. And by the way, I am going to put those regs in. If you don't know what the regs are, I'm putting them in the chat. If you don't know what they are, because that's one of the things that that transphobes do, Another thing that transphobes do is do a bait and switch. And that takes us to our last story for this part of the segment. You remember last month we had that great mini documentary, The Annoying Positive, the Erica Smith story. Erica Smith, a former student athlete at Sweetbriar College, the NCAA Division III school in Virginia, the first out transgender full-time student, first transgender student athlete in the history of school. And she was a touchstone on that campus. Bree Kickett. Well, Erica was basically ran out of school a couple of years back because of being trans, because the administration basically said enough. But now they went full transphobe here. Last week, the Sweetbriar administration announced that they would not allow any their school will be restricted to women who were women from birth, is the exact words that they use for this. Now, Bree put me back on. Now, Erica is not taking this lying down. She's not. What Erica has done, and a group of alums of the school have done, is they've come together and said, we're going to fight this. And Erica took to YouTube a few days ago to talk about why. Bree, roll the clip. Bree, kick it.
Hey everyone.
Here we go.
Erica here. It has been a long time. And time to kind of dust off the channel here and get back to doing what I loved and kind of spreading the word and advocating again. And you know, for those of you that are still here or are seeing this again, you know, thanks for sticking around. And for everybody new, welcome. For those who don't know, my name is Erica Smith. I am a trans female athlete, an advocate, educator, college professor, and I was the first trans female to attend the all-women's college, Sweetbriar College. And there was a lot of great there, and there was a lot of controversy. And it's been a few years since I've been there, but some things have changed. And I've had a lot of people, when I was at the school, come up to me and tell me that my videos on here helped them to decide to come to Sweetbriar because it was so welcoming and sense of community. And unfortunately, I have to sit here and say that I'm being told it's no longer that way. So we're going to resurrect this channel as a place to first have a conversation what's going on there, share some of my experiences, both positive and negative, and air out some skeletons in the closet of things that occur at Sweetbriar that maybe people should know that a lot of people don't. And currently, I was informed by a few students that currently go there that are on the gender spectrum or non-binary, that they have now officially changed their admissions policies to be very exclusive, and however it's very vague, and I'm interested to look more into it and to investigate and see where these came from, how they're going to enforce it, what they're going to do with it. For example, on their website it states that you must confirm that you were assigned female at birth. I don't know how someone can confirm that. Now, someone may say, well, birth certificate, Erica, obviously. My birth certificate says female because I had it changed. And when I was admitted to the school, my birth certificate said female, and they were fine with it until they found out I was trans and tried everything they could to get rid of me. But additionally, their new policy on their website again states that they also only want people presenting as female and identify as female and live female full time. And again, I don't understand this metric of how where's the cutoff of presenting as female? Are they going to start gatekeeping hair length or clothing or style of makeup or like, again, as a philosopher and a biologist, like, you can't even define female very well using genetics, and that's a whole other video. Not getting into it, but just stay tuned for the next few days. I'm going to be posting stuff and doing a deep dive into this. Share this video with people that you may know. If you stumbled across here wondering if you might want to go to Sweetbriar or you want to keep up with what's happening there or whatever, leave a comment down below, share it. Feel free to ask questions. And again, I'm not discouraging people from attending there. My intent is to get to the bottom of what's going on and to help alleviate fears of many students that have reached out to me, and to do what we're supposed to do as human beings, help each other and support each other. Sweetbriar felt safe for a very long time for me, and the fact that it's not feeling safe anymore for some people, that needs to change. So, welcome back to me, I guess. And, if you found that you've outgrown me or whatever, cool. But if you want to stay and follow more, or just curious, then keep a lookout for the next few days. But I'm going to sign off here, and I'll keep you updated. Bye.
By the way, if you want to know more about her, put her website. We put her YouTube site on the chat, and if you want to check out Annoyingly Positive, the Erica Smith story, that you can find that here at the TransPositions YouTube channel, and you can find it on mine. Needless to say, Erica is somebody who I consider she's a sister to me, and she's someone I think is special, and I think she'd be an asset on any college campus anywhere for who she is. And I've been kind of on the ups and downs of the roller coaster with her, kind of like on the periphery of the events, and I can tell you that all I can say is, Sweetbriar, you picked the wrong one. You really did. No, this is not the person you cross on this. And there's going to be a lot of support on whatever Erica does. But this goes back again to the fact is, it goes back to what Skylar Byler always says, is that trans people aren't the problem, transphobia is. And that's what this is. And Stephanie, I know you got plenty more to say. So I'm going to throw this over to you. And because I know you want to talk about what's been happening you want to talk about, you said bookends of the week, bookends of this Olympic period that we had.
Well, just for myself, oh my God, I'm blurry again. Holy smokes. I can't be blurry. This is no good. Let's see. I gotta be. Kill the camera, and then turn the camera on. Maybe I won't be blurry. No, I'm still blurry. I think I gotta actually kill the camera. I'm still blurry. Holy shit. Well, it's just a thing. It's just a thing. I can, there we go. That'll do it. There we go. Shop is attacked, by golly. So here's my week. It's kind of an interesting story. Me anyway, at least meaningful. In that, I started was part of starting a community sailing program in Portland, Maine, that has grown and grown and grown. Gives kids an opportunity. Maine has 3,800 miles of coastline. Why aren't kids getting out on the water? Regardless. And so we started a community sailing program. Was started out as the University of Southern Maine's sailing program, and it just sort of grew. As a matter of fact, some of the kids at the time who were in USM's program wound up being executive directors and key parts of the enterprise as we grew from a small little organization to having 5 regional sailing teams that compete all over New England as part of the Northeast Scholastic Sailing Association, NESA. And these were kids that didn't go to Tabor Academy and didn't go to Choate and didn't go to all these hoity-toity places. They were just kids who wanted to go out and play. And some of those kids grew up to be my competitors now. We're, you know, in the J24 racing that I do, we're duking it out with 2 Sail Maine kids. So we went down. Our team went down and sailed the Sail Maine Regatta to raise money for this organization, and did a good job. We raised about $70,000 for the organization, and they need it because it costs money to be able to do these things, to give kids an opportunity to go out and play on the water, mess around in boats. The Wind in the Willows had it. But we felt pretty good about ourselves. We managed to get around the course 4 minutes and 35 seconds faster than anybody else. So yeah, all right, good on us. But the most meaningful thing to me was being able to stand up in front of a group of 150 sailors and say, these kids are your future. You should be proud of yourselves that you're coming to an event like this and raising this money. You're having fun, you're having a good time. These kids are your future. One of those kids, when I was at Sail Maine, was a trans kid. And I was there in 2010. And he was a very, very tentative child. And because he was embraced and accepted, he grew up to be a very confident young man with the support of his parents, both of whom happen to be Methodist ministers. And I think it's really kind of important that people realize that small examples in small places make a big difference in kids' lives. There was a caller on the Transatlantic Call-In show, and I encourage you to listen to that call. It was, I think, the second to last call today. Who is really struggling. I kind of get the feeling that this person may be a sophomore or something in college, just trying to reconcile the utter rejection of her family, of who she is. Someone can make a difference in that kid's life, and I hope someone does, and I hope we did over on the line. So anyway, bookend there. Had a successful weekend of racing, and the cool thing is, in that circle, nobody cares if I'm trans or not. This weekend, I'm racing in a double-handed regatta that we've done up here for a while. And my friend Richie de Grand Prix, God rest his soul, sailed with me for ages and ages, pre-transition. He happened to be a Freeport town councilor, and he and I butted heads on a few issues. He's not exactly the flaming liberal, but we were always friends. But when I came out, when I transitioned, he said, well, you know, Steph, wasn't really sure if you were going to be sailing, you know, after all this. So I told Jeff I'd sail with him. And that was kind of a gut punch, but it was like, yeah, okay, Richie, I get it. I wasn't really sure how much racing I would do anyway. But he was a fixture in the fleet and all of this stuff. He got used to me. As he got to know his friend as who she was. This libertarian conservative dude got to know his friend a little bit better than he'd known her before. And this regatta is the Rich de Grand Prix regatta. And I'm going to go out and sail on Jeff's boat, the guy who Rich abandoned me for years ago, because Jeff asked me to do that. Jeff is also a guy who is by nature quite right-wing. But he offered me the boat, and he offered me the opportunity to go out there because we both loved Richie. And I'm really looking forward to doing something. I could be like Stu McNay and go the wrong way and not do real well. But I know I'm going to have a good goddamn time with the young woman who sails with Jeff. And I hope I can teach her something too. So don't give up. Don't give up. Don't ever give up. People's hearts do change. It might take a little bit of time, but people's hearts do change.
With that, that's Transposition Sport. That's Transposition Sports. For Ben Hamilton and Stephanie Helms, I'm Carly Chardonnay Webb. See y'all next week. And just a reminder, we got more things coming. So Bree, you got to get back on here because we got a big show next week. One thing we are going to do. One thing that we're definitely doing. We got a show next week. I mean, one thing we're definitely going to be doing is more pre-Paralympics coverage will be coming. We're going to do more coverage of what's going on, including a piece that we are going to run. Who is Valentina Petrillo? And that will include an interview that I and Dawn Ennis, remember Dawn from the old transporter room. We're going to rerun that interview.
We got to get Dawn on here. We got to get Dawn in the house here. Holy crow. You know what the heck? Let's do it.
The thing about Dawn, I know one person. The thing about Dawn is that Dawn is now a news producer at a network affiliate near where I live. So Dawn is kind of difficult. Mm-hmm. But I'll tell you what, I want to throw the Dawn. Hey, Dawn, anytime you want to come on Transpositions News, we're here. And Maddie Caudle, if you want to come on Transpositions News, it's available. And Maddie Caudle works with Dawn. She's the acting news director right now. As far as we know, the only transgender news director in North America.
God damn it. I went on the transporter room with you and Dawn.
You were on it twice.
I don't see why she can't keep it. Come on. Come on. Get in here.
You were on twice. Those are things that are coming up. But one thing I do want to say real quick is that I want to send a shout out to all the supportive school teachers out there, because classes have started again. And I want to send a shout out to all the teachers who are willing to stand up for LGBTQ youth in their schools. I want to send a shout out to you and let you know that we've got your back, and we see you. We see what you do. And we see how there are teachers in a lot of places where angels fear to tread who are standing up for kids right now. And they need all of our support. And I want to send an open challenge to the candidacies of Donald Trump and the campaigns of Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. Kamala, Donald, we send an open invitation to yourselves, your vice presidential candidates, your representatives, to do a debate for transgender America here at TransPosition Sports. How about it? You guys are having a hard time.
Come on, Tim.
Figure out a debate. So you know what? We're opening the door.
I'm a better producer than Elon Musk. I'm just going to say that right now.
No, all I'm saying is if you can get the candidates or get somebody high in policy for both candidates, I want to have a debate for transgender America right here, because transgender Americans are Americans, and we are tired of being a political football. Nothing about us without us. And if this election is close, everybody thinks it's going to be every vote going
on that note, I think we all four need to give a shout out to Tim Walz, who has walked that walk as a teacher.
We'll see.
As an educator.
I mean, I'll admit
he did.
He did, but will he in the White House? You see,
the whole country was like Minnesota.
Joe Biden said he'd have my back, and all the way back over there. I need to see what concrete policy initiatives. Well, let me put it this way: Tim Walz done a great thing as a high school coach and as a teacher. He's done some great things as governor of Minnesota, but now, for example, who's willing to get the Equality Act passed? Who's willing to do it? Because it needs to get done.
He passed that Prince bill. I don't know what that was for exactly.
The amnesty bill, which is good. I give credit where credit is due, but my thing is, those are great things, but now it's a bigger arena. And the fact is, in 26 of 50 states in this union, some form of legalized discrimination against transgender Americans is on the books right now. And again, transgender Americans are Americans, contrary to the belief of J.D. Vance.
I think we need to give Dr. Ben an opportunity to shill next week's Transatlantic Calling show, where you'll be on.
And Luxander. So you have a trans man and a non-binary person both on. So any questions or debates you have about things related to us, it'll be a fun time. I can't promise I won't yell at you if you say something stupid. So I'm sure we'll get somebody.
I can promise you will yell at you.
I'll yell at I'll yell at somebody. I'm sure somebody will call in for me to yell at.
Are you screaming?
Hey, look,
stuff?
look! Look, dude! If Pine Nuts calls in, I've already heard you yell at Pine Nuts. And if Steve McCrae calls in, his brother in arms, hey, you know.
I'll yell at them.
All I gotta say is, I want to be on the Transatlantic Call-In show at some point. It's been a while since I've been there, so I want to get on that. I loved the last time I was on the Transatlantic Call-In show. It was a lot of fun. I'd love to come back.
I've never been on there, but yeah. But speaking of having non-binary people, though, we have our first non-binary host next week because we got Jordan from Dead Domain coming over.
All right.
Yeah. They've done some great stuff. Yeah.
Dead Domain's coming. All right. That's gonna be fun.
That's not all. It's gonna be a star-packed episode next week because we also have Nominal Naomi. And she just talked to Sharon, who we watched the video for a minute ago. she actually just released a video where I guess she called into that whatever show that she was on and talked to her for a minute at the very end.
Oh, good.
And it was good. It was really good. So go. I wish I could send people to watch that. I think you can only send people to live chats though, or sorry to live videos. It's only 4 minutes long, but it's pretty good. Maybe we'll watch it next week. Come back and see because yeah, we're here every week, and that's at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central, 6
0
Mountain,
hour Zulu,
and then 5 Pacific, which both of our guests are Pacific next week, so they're going to be all bright-eyed and just off of their day, and we're going to be kind of, yeah. But Ben, what else you got coming up? I think we talked about medical myths and stuff coming back, right?
Yeah, medical myths is coming back because if I haven't, I've announced a few different places, but long story short, family medicine is not for me. I hate it, not my personality. So I'm changing specialties, but in that, I've left my residency program and am doing a GMO tour. So essentially, kind of like a gap year, you're doing primary care for active duty people, and then I'll reapply for internal medicine. So in the meantime, I have a little bit more availability. So medical myths is coming back. Trivia is going to be more regular on Fridays at 9:30 p.m. Eastern time.
And you guys having Ben here for sports? Because I think Carly and Steph really enjoyed having Ben on the deck for sports tonight.
Yeah, we need to have more sports conversations. It's fun.
We do.
Yeah.
We do.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, yeah, maybe.
And we'll have to get Phoebe on for sports too.
Yeah.
Phoebe is another good one for
Phoebe
sports.
Rose. Yeah,
absolutely.
Phoebe Rose.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, she and Blair Hamilton are kind of best buds and
Blair Hamilton, the most Scottish
Blair
Scot that ever Scot.
Dr. Blair Hamilton is,
I still need to get on a show with Blair Hamilton and have it be the Hamilton show, all about sports. You know,
Hamilton to Hamilton.
That would be good.
You gotta be in the room where it happens. The room where it happens. The room where it happens.
Yeah.
You have such a pretty singing voice, Carly.
There we go.
That's what helped my voice lesson, singing.
But we are having trivia tomorrow night over on Twitch. So join us over there. My name did change, so it's now Bean Dr. Ben because kidneys are my jam. But I don't mind.
Kidneys.
I don't mind the it's like I don't mind the euphemism for other things too. That's we it's very not safe for work over there. Just warning all of you. But anyone can play trivia. So join us.
Oh, what do you mean, Ben? I mean, we're just the soul of discretion. What with long Furbies and I don't,
it is not safe. It's not safe for work over there.
Cornfield bow and what else?
Join us in inside chat and ask about any of those things, and we will teach you.
We'll fill you in. We'll fill you in.
We'll let you know.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that about wraps it up for this week. Let's end on Bean Dr. Ben, and we're going to look forward to seeing everybody back next week. Much love. Much love.
Correction, it's cisgender,
Thanks,
not
everybody.
biological. So let's just be able to say cisgender women. We should normalize cisgender. That's easy enough for us to do.
I will only say that when I say that, I'm saying it's the way they use that term. I don't use that term, but they say that's what they want, and then it's not good enough in the end.
Yeah. And I do know it's a minority, and all I have to say, all I am saying is that if and when there is a trans athlete, can we stand with them? And can we see and tie our own liberation together and our own defense against this bigotry together? And me as a feminist, me as a cisgender woman, I believe that my own liberation, my fight against that misogyny that John's talking about, if someone were to call me a man, say, there's I'm not a man, but also I stand with trans people, I stand with trans athletes, and I hope that we will see that eventually one day, even for those 7 people. I do think it matters.